the unexpected challenger, the small town of Red Ridge was buzzing with excitement. Every year, the community center held its famous dart tournament, attracting people from all over the state. This wasn't just any local event. It had grown into a respected competition, with skilled players, cash prizes, and even a bit of media attention. Banners hung above the doors, families crowded around the dartboards, and food vendors lined the perimeter of the main hall. But this year, something unusual happened that no one saw coming. Keanu Reeves, the actor known around the world, quietly walked through the entrance of the tournament with a simple canvas bag slung over his shoulder. He wore an old black hoodie, faded jeans, and scuffed sneakers. No entourage, no cameras, just Keanu, alone. Most people didn't even recognize him at first. He had signed up under a fake name, just KR, wanting to enjoy a quiet weekend without the weight of celebrity. He wasn't here for attention, he was here because of a promise he had made 30 years ago to someone he hadn't seen since they were both young and broken. But as Keanu stood near the registration table waiting for his number to be called, a group of local regulars took notice. One of them was Tyler Shane, last year's champion and the self-proclaimed king of Red Ridge darts. He was in his late 20s, wore flashy rings, and had a way of turning everything into a performance. He laughed loudly, talked constantly, and strutted around like he owned the place. Tyler nudged his friend and pointed toward Keanu. "Look at this guy. Who invited the yoga teacher?" he said, smirking. "Bet he thinks darts is just throwing sticks at the wall." Keanu said nothing. He simply smiled and gave a small nod. But the moment Tyler heard the name KR announced, from the speakers he leaned in with more sarcasm. "Oh, fancy initials. Must be some kind of artist," Tyler scoffed. "You here to meditate or play darts?" Keanu calmly stepped forward, collected his player badge, and walked to board number 5 without reacting to Tyler's mockery. A few people began to notice his face more closely. Whispers started spreading. "Is that Keanu Reeves? No way. What would he be doing here? He looks just like him." Meanwhile, Keanu set his bag down beside the board and pulled out his own darts, old but well kept. The flight still intact, the tips sharpened. He rolled them gently between his fingers and took a deep breath. The crowd hadn't seen him throw yet, but they were already watching. The first round began. Players took turns throwing 3 darts, their scores written on a chalkboard by the judges. Tyler easily landed near the bullseye with each throw, striking the red or just outside it. He winked at the crowd, lifting his hands like a champion. People clapped and cheered. He made sure everyone saw, but when it was Keanu's turn, everything changed. He stepped up to the line with slow precision. He held the dart gently, eyes focused, his entire body calm like a statue. Then, without a word or a flicker of emotion, he released the dart. Thunk, bullseye. The second dart followed. Thunk, another bullseye. The third dart spun silently through the air before landing dead center, splitting the edge of the previous one. The entire room went still, then someone gasped. "Did you see that? 3 bullseyes. Who is this guy?" Even Tyler's confident smirk faltered. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing, trying to find something, anything, to mock. "Beginner's luck," he muttered, trying to laugh it off, but inside, something unsettled him. That throw wasn't luck. It was years of skill, patience, and silent training. After the round, a young girl approached Keanu. She couldn't have been more than 9 years old. She wore a dart tournament volunteer shirt and held a clipboard tightly to her chest. "Excuse me," she said softly. Are you really Keanu Reeves?" Keanu crouched down and smiled. "What do you think?" She looked at him for a long moment and whispered, "I think you throw darts like a superhero." Keanu chuckled gently. "Well, maybe just a superhero in training." As the competition continued, Keanu's quiet strength began to shine. He didn't speak much, but every time he stepped up to the line, the room fell into silence. His throws were steady, his form unshakable. But behind his calm eyes was a storm of memories. Every dart he threw carried the weight of someone he had once known, someone who had introduced him to the game when they were both just teenagers. His name was Danny, a foster kid who lived 2 houses down from Keanu's old neighborhood. They used to sneak into an abandoned pool hall and throw darts on a cracked board taped to the wall. They made a promise sealed with a handshake. If either of them ever got famous, they'd come back to Red Ridge and win the tournament in the other's name. But Danny never made it. He had died in a car crash just a week after they turned 18. Keanu had been in New York chasing auditions. He got the news too late. He never got to say goodbye. Never got to keep the promise. Until now. Keanu didn't want fame that day. He wanted peace. He wanted to honor a memory. And every dart he threw was for Danny. Meanwhile, Tyler was spiraling. Every time Keanu advanced to the next round, Tyler found new ways to mock him. "Hey, Zen Master, you float those darts in with your mind?" Or maybe your stunt double throws them for you. But the crowd wasn't laughing anymore. They were watching Keanu, cheering for him, clapping every time he nailed the bullseye. That shift made Tyler furious. He cornered Keanu by the water table before the semifinals and leaned in close. "I don't care who you are, this is my tournament. You better choke before the finals, Hollywood." Keanu just looked at him and said one thing: "I'm not here for the trophy." Then he walked away, leaving Tyler with clenched fists and burning pride. As the sun began to set, the crowd gathered closer. Lights came on above the dartboards, casting shadows across the players. Judges took their places, and in just one match, Keanu would face Tyler in the finals. The room was alive with tension, but Keanu didn't notice the crowd anymore. He stood near the wall holding a photo in his hand, a faded picture of 2 boys in an old pool hall smiling and holding darts. "This is for you, Danny," he whispered. And as the final round was called, Keanu stepped forward. "Ready?" The final match begins. The air inside the Red Ridge Community Center had changed. The laughter and small talk faded. Even the sound of the soda machines and buzzing overhead lights seemed to quiet down. All eyes were fixed on the final 2 players. On one side stood Tyler Shane, flashy, loud, and angry. His face was red from pressure and pride. He bounced on his heels, cracked his knuckles, and kept tossing his darts up and catching them again, trying to show off. On the other side stood Keanu Reeves, calm, still, and focused. He didn't look like a movie star now. He looked like a man holding something sacred. He clutched an old dart in his hand, gently rubbing the smooth brass surface with his thumb, like it was a memory come alive. The announcer stepped forward with a mic that squeaked before he spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. The final match, Tyler Shane versus KR." A few people in the crowd called out, "His name's Keanu." "It's really him." But Keanu gave a small shake of his head and smiled toward the announcer as if to say, "It's okay, let's just play." The rules were simple. First to 5-on-1 points, standard tournament setup. Each player would take turns throwing 3 darts per round. No room for mistakes. Keanu won the coin toss. He'd go first. He stepped up to the line, took a slow breath, and raised his hand. The dart flew, fast and sure. Thunk. Triple 20, gasps rippled through the crowd. Second dart. Triple 20. Third dart. Another triple 20, a perfect 180 on his first throw. People jumped from their chairs. A few clapped their hands over their mouths. It was silent except for the sound of disbelief. Keanu turned, nodded at the judge, and walked back without a word. Tyler's face twitched. His smile was gone now. His pride had turned into something uglier, fear, but he hid it behind arrogance. "Fine," he said. "You got lucky once, now it's my turn." He threw his first dart. Triple 20. The crowd clapped. Second dart. 12, third dart, 5. His total was decent, but nothing compared to Keanu's. He frowned, trying to hide the shake in his hands. For years he had ruled this tournament with attitude and charm, but now he was being outplayed and outloved. The crowd wasn't on his side anymore. Round after round, Keanu kept his pace. Triple 20s. Double bulls. Every throw was thoughtful and clean. He never rushed. He never showboated. And still he never spoke. Tyler, on the other hand, got louder with each mistake. Every missed double, every dart that hit the wrong number, made him more frustrated. Stupid board, he muttered. Bad grip, the lighting's off. But everyone knew. It wasn't the board or the light. It was the pressure, the presence of a man who didn't want to win for glory, but for something deeper. After a short break between rounds, an old man from the audience walked up to Keanu. His hands trembled slightly and his voice was soft. I knew your friend, the man said. Danny. He used to help me at the post office. Kind boy. Quiet but good with people. Keanu's eyes widened. He hadn't expected anyone to remember. He told me about you. The old man continued. He used to say, my friend Keanu's going to be a star, but he's got a better heart than most people in Hollywood. He believed in you? Keanu nodded, his throat tight. Thank you, he whispered. The man patted his shoulder. Make him proud, son. Keanu returned to the line with something different in his chest now. Not pressure, but love. Purpose. As the score crept forward, Tyler began losing his cool. On one throw, he accidentally hit a 1. The crowd groaned. He turned on them. What? You think this is easy? You try it. No one answered, but Keanu stayed steady. Round after round, dart after dart, until they reached the final turn. Keanu needed 40 points to win. A simple double 20 would do it. He stood at the line, staring at the small sliver of red on the outer ring. The room was completely silent. He looked at the dart, then closed his eyes for a moment. In his mind, he saw Danny, young, laughing, standing next to him in that dusty old pool hall, their dartboard taped to cracked brick. We'll come back one day, Danny had said, and we'll show 'em. Keanu opened his eyes. He threw the dart. Thunk, double 20. He had won. The judge raised his hand, shocked. The announcer stammered into the mic. And the winner of this year's Red Ridge Dart Tournament, Keanu Reeves. I mean KR. The crowd erupted. People stood, clapping and cheering, but Keanu didn't raise his arms. He didn't shout. He simply smiled, looked up toward the ceiling and whispered, We did it. Tyler stormed off. He didn't wait for the final handshakes. He pushed past the tables and disappeared into the hallway, humiliated and bitter. But Keanu stayed. Not for the trophy, not for the applause. He walked over to the judges' table and handed them his darts. Give these to the youth program, he said. Maybe the next Danny is out there somewhere. The judge blinked. Are you serious? Yeah, Keanu nodded. They belong to the next dreamer. As the night came to a close, a few children ran up to him for autographs. He gently signed each one, knelt down to talk to them, and smiled when they asked how he got so good. Practiced a lot, he said. But more than that, I played for someone I cared about. An elderly woman approached him last, holding a faded photo in her hands. It was Danny, as a child, smiling with a dart in his hand. I'm his aunt, she said softly, her eyes glassy. Thank you for remembering him. Keanu took the photo with both hands, tears welling up. I never forgot. She nodded. He wouldn't have missed this for the world. And as Keanu walked out of the building that night, the stars above, Red Ridge seemed brighter. He had kept his promise. But what he didn't know yet was that someone had recorded the match, and by morning, the world would know what happened in that small town. The video goes viral. The next morning, Red Ridge woke up to something strange. First, the town's official community center page started getting hundreds of new followers by the hour. Then the tournament coordinator, a man named Daryl who still used a flip phone, called his nephew in a panic. I think we've been hacked, he said. But it wasn't a hack. It was a video. Someone had uploaded a short clip from the final round. The moment Keanu threw 3 darts back to back, all landing perfectly on the bullseye. It was just 42 seconds long, but it exploded. The title read, Keanu Reeves secretly joins small-town dart tournament and stuns everyone. By noon, the video had over 2 million views. Comments flooded in. Is this real? This is the most Keanu thing I've ever seen. He didn't even celebrate. Just threw, nodded, and walked off. Absolute legend. By evening, the number had crossed 12 million, and the phone at the Red Ridge Community Center wouldn't stop. Ringing reporters, TV shows, talent agencies, documentary filmmakers, everyone wanted to know the same thing. Why was one of the biggest actors in the world playing darts in a tiny community hall without telling anyone? But Keanu had already left town. He was driving an old pickup truck along. A quiet stretch of highway, windows down, music low, wind brushing through his hair. His phone buzzed nonstop, but he ignored it. He had done what he came to do. That was enough, or so he thought. At a rest stop diner a few miles outside the county line, Keanu pulled in to grab a cup of coffee. The place was nearly empty. Just a few truckers, a mother with 2 kids, and the waitress behind the counter who looked half asleep. Keanu walked up and asked gently, "Black coffee, please." The waitress looked up and blinked. She froze. Her hand trembled slightly. You're... Keanu smiled. "I'm just passing through." She nodded slowly, then whispered, "You're the dart guy." He laughed. "Guess that's me now." He sat at the corner booth, quiet, sipping his coffee. One of the truckers nearby slid his phone across the table. "You seen this?" he asked. Keanu looked at the screen. It was a news site. His photo was right on the front page. Keanu Reeves honors childhood friend with unexpected dart tournament appearance. Beneath it was a story about Danny, about their childhood and about the promise. Someone from the crowd must have heard the story and posted it. Keanu stared at the screen for a long time. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't wanted this. It was supposed to be private, sacred, but now the world knew. He looked at the trucker. "Thanks," he said softly. The man nodded. "What you did? It meant something." Keanu finished his coffee, left a big tip for the waitress, and quietly walked out. But he could already feel it in the air. Something had changed. His peaceful moment had become a movement. By the next day, the video was everywhere. Major networks ran features on it. Celebrities posted reactions. One even tweeted, "Keanu Reeves just humbled all of us without saying a single word." But back in Red Ridge, something even more important was happening. Kids who had never cared about darts were signing up to join the Community League. Parents started bringing their children to the center asking if they could learn. The judge who ran the tournament got emails from other towns asking for copies of the tournament rules. They wanted to host their own. And tucked behind the prize shelf, the judge had placed a glass box with a small label, "Donated by KR," for the next dreamer. Inside were Keanu's old darts. Every child who walked past the box stared at them like they were magical. Meanwhile, Tyler Shane was nowhere to be found. After losing the match, he had vanished. But online, things weren't kind to him. Someone had uploaded clips of his arrogant behavior, his taunts, his outbursts. The comments were brutal. But there was one post that stood out. It came from Tyler himself. "I deserve to lose. I made that tournament about myself, not the game. Keanu didn't beat me with darts. He beat me with character. I'm taking time away from competing. I've got a lot to learn." It was a rare moment of humility, and people noticed. A few days later, Keanu finally turned his phone back on. There were hundreds of missed calls, dozens of texts, even a message from his agent. But one voicemail stood out. It was from a woman named Emily. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Hi. You don't know me, but I'm Danny's little sister. I saw the video. I was just a baby when he passed, but I always heard stories. I had no idea someone still remembered him like that. I just wanted to say thank you. From the bottom of my heart." Keanu sat in his car, tears streaming down his cheeks. After a moment, he called her back. They spoke for over an hour. She told him about her life, how their family had struggled after Danny died, and how watching that tournament made her feel like a piece of her brother had come back. He would have loved that, she said. Keanu smiled through the tears. He was the best. He believed in people, especially me. Emily paused. "You know, his birthday's coming up next week." Keanu nodded. "I know. Would you maybe come visit? We're having a small gathering. Just family. I think it would mean a lot. Keanu didn't hesitate. I'll be there. A week later, Keanu stood in a small backyard surrounded by folding chairs, warm lights, and the smell of barbecue. Danny's family had gathered to celebrate his memory, something they hadn't done in years. But now, with Keanu's visit, it felt like healing had begun. He told them stories they had never heard. How Danny used to sneak out to play darts. How he never missed a throw when it mattered. How he always talked about his family. He loved you, Keanu said. He talked about you all the time. Emily wiped her eyes. I always wished I'd known him better. Keanu reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded paper. It was the old tournament flyer from 30 years ago, the one they had both promised to play in someday. He kept this, Keanu said, until the day he left. They framed it that night and placed it above their fireplace, and before Keanu left, he handed Emily something else, a small black case. His favorite dart, he said. He gave it to me when we were kids. Now it's yours. Emily held it like treasure. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu nodded. Thank you. As he drove away from the house that night, something in his heart felt lighter. The road ahead was long, but for the first time in years he wasn't carrying it alone. What he thought was just a promise had become a legacy, and the world had only just begun to notice. The letter from London 2 weeks passed since the tournament in Redridge, and though Keanu had returned to his quiet life, the world hadn't forgotten. Videos of his throws were still trending. News outlets kept sharing the story. Schools began using it as an example of humility, sportsmanship, and the power of honoring promises. But Keanu stayed away from interviews. He wasn't trying to turn this into publicity. Every time someone reached out to offer a magazine feature or late-night show appearance, he simply said no. He wasn't interested in headlines, only in truth. Then, one morning, he received a letter. Not an email, not a text, a real letter, handwritten and sent from London. The return address was from a place called Dart Future, a prestigious youth training center known for producing some of the best dart players in Europe. Keanu opened the envelope slowly. It read, Dear Mr. Reeves, we were deeply moved by your recent appearance in Redridge and the story behind it. Many of our young players have been inspired by your humility and skill. We would be honored to invite you to our annual youth championship in London, not to compete but to appear as a guest of honor. We believe your presence would light a fire in these young hearts. And if possible, we would like you to give a short message to our rising players. Your story has reminded the world why we love this game. Respectfully, Oliver Hargrove, founder, Dart Future Academy. Keanu read the letter twice, then folded it and placed it gently on the table. He stared out the window for a long time, lost in thought. He didn't consider himself a teacher. He wasn't sure what he'd even say to a room full of champions in the making. But deep down, he knew this invitation wasn't about being a celebrity. It was about showing young people that kindness, focus, and staying true to yourself could change more than just a game. It could change a life, so he agreed. Keanu boarded a quiet flight to London, wearing his same old hoodie and jeans. No bodyguards. No press releases. Just a single bag and a note from Emily tucked inside, which read, He would be proud of you. The academy welcomed him with warmth. There was no red carpet, just dozens of teenagers in colorful dart jerseys, eyes wide with admiration and curiosity. Many of them had only seen him in movies or the viral video. But now, seeing him in person, standing humbly among them, they looked at him like he was a mystery worth understanding. Oliver Hargrove, a tall, silver-haired man with a thick British accent, shook Keanu's hand firmly. Thank you for coming, sir, he said. Your story changed the way these kids see the sport. Keanu gave a small smile. I didn't mean to change anything. Sometimes, the most powerful moments are the ones we don't mean to create. They led him into the main training hall. Banners lined the walls. Names of past champions were written in gold. A few cameras were set up in the back, but no one pushed for close-ups or interviews. They respected Keanu's quiet nature. When it was time to speak, he stood in front of the young players. His voice was soft but steady. I'm not a coach, He began. I'm not even a professional dart player. Some of the kids chuckled gently. But I know what it means to carry something in your heart for a long time. I know what it means to lose someone and want to do something good in their name. He paused, his eyes drifting toward a photo of a young player on the wall. The world will try to make you louder. It'll tell you that winning is everything, that you have to shout, brag, or prove yourself to be worth something. He looked at them again. But you don't. The strongest people I've met are the quiet ones, the ones who show up, give everything, and walk away with peace. A long silence followed. Then someone in the back clapped, then another. And soon, the whole room stood to applaud him, not because he was famous, but because they believed him. They felt him. After the talk, the players invited Keanu to join a practice session. He smiled shyly, nodded, and took a dart. His first throw was clean, sharp, and fast, straight into the bullseye. One of the young players, a shy girl named Maya, raised her hand. Can I ask something? Of course, Keanu replied. Do you ever get scared when everyone's watching? You? Keanu thought for a moment, then said, Yes, but I focus on one thing, the reason I'm doing it. When that reason is love or purpose, fear gets smaller. Maya nodded, then stepped up to throw. Her dart landed just near the bullseye. Keanu smiled and clapped for her. Beautiful throw, he said, just like your question. That night, the Academy held a small ceremony. They gave Keanu a simple wooden plaque that read, In honor of the promise kept. He didn't expect it, didn't want gifts or praise. But when he received it, he placed it on the table gently, like he was placing a flower on a grave. After the event, Oliver Hargrove pulled him aside. There's something else, he said. A man from an old dart federation called me yesterday, said he knew you when you were just a kid. Keanu's eyes widened. What's his name? Harold Fitch. He was a judge at a small tournament in California decades ago. He remembered you and your friend Danny. Keanu smiled, surprised. He's here in London now. Would you like to meet him? Keanu nodded. Absolutely. The next morning, Keanu walked into a quiet cafe just off the Thames. Harold was waiting at a corner table holding a cane, white hair tucked under a cap. He looked up, smiled, and said, You haven't changed a bit. Keanu laughed. You have a good memory. Harold nodded. You two boys, always sneaking in, always asking to throw just one more round. They talked for over an hour, about the past, about Danny, about that dusty dartboard in the old pool hall. Harold had saved a photo, faded and curled with time. It showed two boys holding darts, grinning wide. Keanu stared at it, eyes wet. That's the day we made the promise, he whispered. Harold leaned forward. And you kept it. Before they parted, Harold handed him the photo. Take it, he said. Memories deserve to live. Keanu placed it gently in his jacket. As he walked back to the academy, wind brushing against his face, he knew something had shifted again. This wasn't just about one tournament anymore. A movement had begun, not of fame, not of victory, but of meaning, kindness, and keeping your word, even when no one is watching. The challenge from the world champion a month after Keanu's quiet visit to London, something unexpected happened again. He was back in Los Angeles, spending most days off the grid, riding his motorcycle, working in his garage, and volunteering at a local youth center that recently set up their own dartboard, thanks to donations pouring in from around the world. Keanu didn't talk about it much, but he helped build the stand, painted the wall behind it, and even taught a few kids how to throw with calm hands. But then came the headline that caught his eye. World dart champion Marco Delgado publicly challenges Keanu Reeves to an exhibition match. Keanu stared at the screen. Marco Delgado. The name was everywhere in the darting world. Sharp, confident, and nicknamed The Machine for his flawless throws. 6-time world champion, undefeated in exhibition matches, and now, apparently, he wanted to play against Keanu. In the video clip that followed, Marco stood in front of a camera holding a dart between his fingers, smiling with perfect teeth. "I saw the video," Marco said. "Beautiful throw, amazing story, real emotion. I respect that. But I'd like to see what happens when Hollywood meets the professional circuit." Then he winked. "What do you say, Keanu? One match? For charity. I'll even come to you." Keanu sighed, shaking his head with a half-smile. He hadn't asked for this attention. He never claimed to be the best. He just wanted to honor a promise. But now, the world had its eyes on him again. And this time, it wasn't just curious. It was hungry. His phone rang. It was Oliver Hargrove from London. "I heard." Oliver said calmly. "You don't have to do anything." Keanu looked out the window. "I know. But if you do," Oliver added, "do it your way." After a few days of silence, Keanu posted a short video on his rarely used account, just 1 minute long. No special effects, no dramatic music, just him, sitting in front of a plain wall. "Hi," he began with a soft smile. "Thank you to everyone who supported the Red Ridge story, Danny's story. It means more than I can explain." He paused. "I've been challenged to a match. I'm not a professional player. I never was. But I've always believed that when you play with heart, you don't need to prove anything." Another pause. "But if this match can raise money for youth programs like the one Danny and I used to dream about, then yes, I accept." He smiled, again. "See you soon, Marco." The internet broke. Within hours, sponsors began lining up. Networks started bidding to air the match. Fans from all over the world started donating to the cause. Keanu made it clear. Every dollar raised would go toward youth centers, mental health support, and community sports programs. And the match was set. Keanu Reeves versus Marco Delgado location. Red Ridge Community Center event. Darts for Dreams date. 2 weeks away, the announcement stunned everyone. Marco agreed immediately. "It's poetic," he said in an interview. "We'll play where it all started." Keanu didn't train in high-end facilities. He returned to the same dusty pool hall, where he and Danny used to play as kids. It had long since closed down, but Keanu had recently bought the building quietly. Now it was being restored. Not as a business, but as a memory. He walked through the hall barefoot, dragging his fingers along the old walls, hearing echoes from the past. He stood at the same spot where they had made their promise. Then, like before, he threw bullseye again. He wasn't training to win. He was remembering. The day of the match arrived. The Red Ridge Community Center had never seen so many people. News crews from every major channel were there. Fans stood outside holding signs like Team Keanu and Do It for Danny. Some wore homemade shirts with a simple message, heart over hype. Inside, the dartboards had been freshly painted. The crowd was a mix of old locals, curious travelers, and dozens of young players inspired by Keanu's journey. The two players entered from opposite sides. Marco wore a custom jersey with sponsors all over it, sleek black pants, and a confident grin. The crowd cheered. Then Keanu stepped in, wearing an old hoodie, jeans, and sneakers. The crowd roared. They shook hands in the middle. "Thank you for doing this," Marco said. "Thank you for caring," Keanu replied. The rules were set. Best of 5 sets. Each set first to 5:01 as the match began. Tension filled the room. Marco started with his usual perfection. Triple 20, triple 19, double 12. Fast, smooth, practiced. Keanu's throw was slower, but precise. He didn't try to match speed. He focused. He breathed. His throws were like whispers through the air, thoughtful, quiet, and powerful. The first set went to Marco. The second, Keanu. The third set was close, tied at 5:01 each. One good round could seal it. Keanu stepped up. He threw 2 darts, triple 20, triple 20. The crowd held its breath. Then he looked at the final dart. Just 21 points needed. He turned his head slightly, glanced at the front row. There sat Emily, Danny's sister, holding the same photo of her brother Keanu had given her. Beside her was Harold Fitch, and beside him were 5 young kids from The youth center, who had never held darts before Keanu walked in that day. Keanu smiled, then threw. Double 10 and one set won. The crowd exploded. He didn't jump. He just nodded. The fourth set. Marco took it, barely. He was sweating now, shaking his arm between rounds. Final set. The room felt electric. Marco threw well, nearly perfect. But his rhythm was off. Keanu's presence had shaken something in him. He wasn't just playing to win anymore. He was playing to match something deeper, and it was hard to reach. Keanu stayed consistent. He needed just 50 to win. One dart left. As he stepped up, the lights dimmed slightly for effect. A hush fell over the room. He raised his arm. The dart flew. Bullseye, the judge shouted. The crowd jumped to their feet. Keanu had won. But the moment wasn't about winning. It was about silence, and memory, and meaning. Marco walked over and hugged him tightly. You're not just good, he whispered. You're right. After the match, both players stood side by side. Keanu took the mic, hesitated, then said, This isn't a story about beating anyone. It's about honoring someone. This match was for Danny, and for anyone who ever believed in someone quietly. He looked at the kids in the crowd. Never let the noise fool you. The quiet ones are often the strongest. Then he stepped back. No speech, no spotlight, just heart, just purpose. And the world stood still to listen. The quiet revolution after the match. The world didn't just cheer. It listened. Keanu Reeves, a man never loud with his fame, had sparked something bigger than anyone expected. The Darts for Dreams match raised over $8 million in just 3 days. Not a single cent went to Keanu or Marco. The entire amount was divided among community youth centers, mental health programs, underfunded schools, and after-school sports initiatives across the world. The Red Ridge Community Center became a landmark overnight. Fans and tourists started visiting just to stand near board number 5, the one where Keanu made his first perfect throw. The small town, once quiet and overlooked, became a place where stories began. Local kids proudly wore shirts that read, "Dreams were born here." But something even more powerful happened in the background, a quiet revolution. Keanu didn't return to movie sets right away. Instead, he traveled. Not for premieres or photo shoots. He visited youth centers, shelters, and schools that had set up dartboards with the help of the funds raised. He sat with kids who didn't know who he was, and he liked it that way. He taught them how to stand still, how to breathe before throwing, and how to focus not on the target, but on the reason behind the throw. At a shelter in Detroit, a boy named Marcus asked him, "What if I miss?" Keanu gently placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Then you try again," he said. "Missing means you're trying." At a small island school in the Philippines, a young girl named Anna threw her first dart with her eyes closed. It missed. She turned to him and laughed nervously. "That's okay," Keanu said. "You're braver than most already." Meanwhile, Tyler Shane, the former local champ who once mocked Keanu, returned to Red Ridge quietly. He walked into the community center one evening and saw a group of kids throwing darts. They recognized him immediately. "You're the guy from the video." Tyler expected teasing, but instead one of the boys handed him a dart. "Want to play?" He smiled, surprised. They played for an hour, and when the game ended, Tyler didn't win. But he didn't care. He started volunteering twice a week. He told Keanu later in a message, "You showed me it's not about being the best. It's about showing up." Keanu replied with a simple heart emoji. Months passed. A journalist from a major magazine begged Keanu for an interview, saying, "You've become more than a movie star. You're a movement now." Keanu agreed under one condition: no cameras. No lights, just a quiet chat in a park. The journalist asked, "When did all of this start?" Keanu thought for a moment, then pulled out the faded photo, the one of him and Danny both smiling with homemade darts in their hands. "It started here," he said. "2 boys, 1 dream, and a promise." What was the promise? To return one day and play for the heart, not the trophy. The journalist blinked. But how does one throw change the world? Keanu looked up at the sky. It didn't. The throw didn't change the world. The reason behind it did. One evening, Keanu visited Danny's grave again. It was quiet. The sky was painted in orange and purple. He knelt down, placed a fresh dart at the base of the headstone, and whispered, "We did it, brother. Your name's on boards across the world now. You helped light a path." He sat there for a while, watching the wind move through the trees. Behind him, a small group of kids from Red Ridge approached. They didn't say anything. They just stood beside him in silence. Then one of them gently placed their own dart beside Danny's grave. Then another, and another. Soon, a dozen darts stood like tiny spears of tribute, not for a celebrity, but for a boy who once believed in dreams. Years later, the KeanuReeves Foundation became one of the largest youth mentorship programs in the world. Its logo, a single dart resting inside a heart. Every year, thousands of kids play in the Red Ridge Invitational, the biggest global youth dart tournament. The winner never receives cash. Instead, they get to choose which country or school receives new training equipment and funding for the next year. Keanu never took credit. He rarely spoke on stage. But he always showed up, quietly standing at the back, smiling when a new kid hit their first bullseye. The press once called him the man who played for a promise. But to the world, he became something even greater. Proof that one act of love, one memory honored, one quiet promise kept, could ripple out and change lives forever. And every time someone asks, "How did it all start?" they're told, he was mocked at a dart tournament until his first shot hit a perfect score, and even then he never played to win. He played for something deeper, something unforgettable.